Have a nice day to each and everyone, especially to my engineering economics instructor, Engineer Wilfred Clark Sevilla. And let me briefly introduce myself first. By the way, my name is Claire Cabaluna, and I am delighted to be here today to talk to you about engineering economics. So, for you, what is engineering economy? Based on my research, engineering economics can be defined as the use of application or economic techniques to evaluate or access engineering design and aid the selection of engineering alternatives. Simply put, it aids the selection of the appropriate engineering design, energy saving measures, etc., to be implemented in an organization. This goes to show how important economics is to every aspect of life. I'd now like to move to the next part. So, why you should learn about engineering economics and how it is important to us to learn about engineering economy. First is decision making for the best fit project for your organization to embark on. The second is time value of money projection. Third is project ROI, payback period determination, internal rate of return value, and NPV cost are all attached to engineering economics. The fourth is analysis of the economics of other project alternatives. And the last one is determining a project's cost benefit analysis by comparing the project's worth with the associated cost. Cost rather. And let's now turn to the flow of the presentation. First is I am going to state the economic problem, and I am going to show the engineering economic solution and describe the concepts, principles, and techniques we used in our solution. And the fourth is conclusion of the problem, and the last one is introduce the group members at the end or start of the presentation. And turning our attention now to the economic problem.
They had a
So,
place where they'd store it, right under our noses. And they just thought they could get away with it forever. And they could have if it hadn't been for those trackers.
Right now, you're watching this on an electronic device. Do you ever think about where it'll end up when you're done with it?
so, I would like to share to you our economic problem video.
They had a place where they'd store it, right under our noses. And they just thought they could get away with it forever. And they could have if it hadn't been for those trackers.
Right now, you're watching this on an electronic device. Do you ever think about where it'll end up when you're done with it? Many devices contain toxic materials and should be recycled very carefully. Sadly, lots end up in landfills. But even if you're diligent and give your electronic waste, or e-waste, to a recycler, that's no guarantee about what happens next. American recyclers often ship it overseas, frequently to countries in southern Asia. There, workers take apart toxic material by hand, often without proper safety measures. And US policy lets it happen. But, thanks to one small nonprofit, not everyone gets away with it.
That means they're really worried about our program, probably.
And
They had a
this
place where
leads
they'd
me to
store
my
it,
next
right under our
point,
noses.
which is our economic problem situation. So, this is my or our economic situation. Let me read. ABC Electronics needs to weigh the trade off between maximizing immediate tax benefits and maintaining long term financial stability. The higher initial tax deduction from the double declining balance method may provide immediate cash flow advantages but could lead to lower reported profits in the short term. This straight line method, while providing a more predictable and stable expense stream, may not optimize the immediate tax advantages. Advantages rather. The economic problem lies in finding a balance that aligns with the company's financial goals, cash flow requirements, and overall tax strategy. This decision impacts the company's ability to manage its tax liabilities effectively while ensuring financial stability and profitability over the long term. So in this situation, I am going to use the methods of depreciation to solve the ABC Electronics Company. So the methods that we choose is methods of depreciation. And what is depreciation? Depreciation is an accounting concept that establishes an annual deduction against before tax income such that the effect of time and use on the assets value can be reflected in a firm financial statement. And the other one is what is the two reasons depreciation may be performed. The two reasons are first is the book depreciation. It is used by a corporation or business for internal financial accounting. The second is the tax depreciation. It is used in tax calculations for government regulations. And let's now turn to the next page, which is the purpose of depreciation. The purpose of depreciation is to provide for the recovery of capital which has been invested in physical property and to enable the cost of depreciation to be changed to the cost of producing products or services that results from the use of the property and also to enable the cost of depreciation to be included as a cost in the production of goods and services. And also, annual cost of depreciation is being put in a fund called depreciation. And the last one is provide as an additional capital term as depreciation reserve. So these are the purpose of our depreciation. So let's now proceed to another slide, which is the properties of depreciable assets. So it must have a determinable life and the life must be greater than 1 year. And it must be something used in business or held to produce income. And it must be something that gets used up, wears out, decays, become obsolete, or loses its value due to natural causes. And the last but not the least, is it must be an inventory or stock in trade or investment. So next is in the methods of depreciation, I am going to use the uniform method, which is the straight line method and the sinking fund method. A good example is again, this is a good example of straight line method. So in this methods of depreciation, I am going to use the uniform method, which is the straight line method and the sinking fund method. Next is first is the straight line method. The method assumes that the loss in value is directly proportional to the age of the property. It is the simplest depreciation method. It assumes that a constant amount is depreciation each year over the depreciable useful life of the asset. So these are the solutions that we are going to use to solve the economic problem. So a good example of this is this one. So let me read the, the problem. An ABC Electronics company purchases a machine for $100,000 with an estimated salvage value of $20,000 and a useful life of 5 years. So calculate the depreciation and book value for each of the 5 years. So we have here a given. We have a first cost of $100,000 and a salvage value of $20,000 and a recover period of 5 years. So we are going to use this formula. The depreciation annual depreciation is equal to first cost minus salvage value over or divide into the n, which is our recovery period. And after that is we're going to substitute. So annual depreciation is equal to $100,000 minus $20,000 over 5 years is equal to $16,000. So the annual depreciation is equal to $16,000. And now let's calculate the depreciation and the book value for each of the 5 years. So in the year one, we already know that our total depreciation is equal to $16,000. So we have to subtract our first cost to our total depreciation. So the answer is $84,000. So next is to let's proceed to the year two. So we already know again that this $84,000 is came from the first year. So we are going to subtract again the $84,000 minus $16,000 is equal to $68,000. Then we apply the same process or flow to solve the following year from year 3 to year 5. So the residual value is $20,000. So let's proceed to the conclusion. The conclusion is at the end of the assets useful life year 5 or the fifth year, the book value reaches the residual value of $20,000 and the asset is considered fully depreciated. And this problem illustrates how the straight line method the straight line depreciation method rather evenly allocates the depreciation expense over the useful life of the asset, and the book value decreases gradually until it reaches the residual value. And now I will pass you over to my colleague, Mike Nicole Dalla.